Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. So just something a bit lighter on this video, and just 6 money habits that are keeping you poor. So let's get into it. So I wanted to talk about some money habits that I'm very guilty of, and also that I'm very much aware of, and I have successfully avoided so far. But these habits will drag you down and even stop your wealth building. I think it's quite difficult out there now. There's always some or something trying to pull that cash out of your wallet. It's a daily fight. Whether you see something on the TV or walk past a shop window or drive past a car garage, there's always something wanting that money, that hard-earned money from you. New car, new clothes, new toys, gadgets, something on the TV, new program, new movie, the list goes on and on. So that takes us into number one. If you can't control that spending, it's living beyond your means. And this means you're spending more than you're actually bringing in. And you'll be trying to keep up with the Joneses, as they say. The neighbours, they've got a new car, I want a new car. They've renovated the bathroom, we'll renovate the bathroom. So you may be struggling with completely inappropriate expenses and not enough income. Either way, you're sabotaging your future and your wealth building, and ultimately that journey to having retirement. So you've got to look for signs that you're living beyond your means. And the primary one is you don't have a budget. Maybe there's no budget to think about. You don't have a budget. That means that you don't know how to budget. Hence you're living beyond your means, and you don't know how much you've got coming in or going out, so it's easy to lose track. Or you know perfectly well how to budget, and you're not doing it because your budget tells you you don't have enough money to spend on stuff you want to spend it on, and that would be still sticking your head in the sand. If you're having to survive on those soft potatoes that are on the verge of going mouldy from the garage in the last few days before payday, then you're beyond your means. When I lived in Canada, I was 24 the majority of the time I was in Canada, and I used to clean rooms, bathrooms, etc. And you get paid weekly, and on the first day I would go food shopping. I really enjoy eating. I eat quality food. I always enjoyed that. Try to look after my health. And on the first day of first day of my wage, I would go to the local supermarket in Banff in Canada, and I'd do my weekly shop, and I'd have really nice foods. I'd kind of budgeted well, and I would fill my bit of the fridge because I shared with a guy from the Philippines, a guy from Canada, and I would fill my part of the fridge. And by the end of it, it wasn't like a week of scallops, not that it was that, but I'm just trying to make the point, it wasn't like fine dining all week. I refused to go shopping through that week, and I had a budget of food shopping to get me through that week. But by the end of the week, I'd eaten all the good stuff, and I was left with the more kind of basics, not so enjoyable. But you budget and you make that money work, and then you get paid again, and the cycle would start again. So I was really kind of quite good, I thought, at a young age, of disciplining myself. And I'm quite good when I get backed into a corner on budgeting and thinking outside the box on how to move forward. But if you are still spending beyond your means and struggling, and I get it, I do get it, you've got to try maybe find like a wee side hustle or a part-time job. Maybe you're creative, you could do some painting. What else? what's quite popular now, if you have a wee garden, and I even see it in flats that have rooftop terraces, maybe you're interested in bees, you could get some honey, you could sell it. If you've got a wee bit outside space, you could maybe sell produce. Chickens, eggs are always in demand. There's wee things like that. Or you could babysit, look after the dog, tutor. There's lots of little angles there, certainly, to bring in a wee bit extra income. And if that gets you on the right side, great, you're going the right direction. But if you find you still need money to fund something, you maybe would have to up that side hustle, get more productive, and allocate more time. But there's only so many times, there's so much time in a day, so you don't want to be working around the clock to pay for a cupboard full of shoes or high heels, and you can't even use them. So I think you've got to find that balance. If you keep on dipping into that pot or having to work more and more just to draw even, are you ever going to start to budget to enjoy your retirement, and then have exotic holidays, or just sit back and relax and enjoy the finer things in life? It's fine if you remain healthy and you're quite an active person and maybe you want to do a bit more. Just keep on working, that's fine. But if not, you really need to start putting those plans in place to build that retirement pot. So number 2 is diversifying your savings. Now, a lot of people talk about the stock market, and I disagree with it. But everybody has their own opinion on this. I'm no investment guru or anything. I think if you are going to diversify your money, you should be doing it in things you're comfortable in. And there's lots of different options out there. But don't go to some supposed guru on the internet saying they'll make you a lot of money. They won't. They'll make themselves a lot of money out of your money, and you'll see nothing. So stock markets, they're not for me, but they might be for you. I would say I like more things you can get your hands on, and this is property, gold and silver, in cash. And I know before you say anything, yep, cash is worthless, but cash will always be king, unless they go digital, of course. But there's nothing wrong with keeping a bit cash aside and to trade with. But the gold and silver is definitely your next best thing if you don't believe in the cash. And then the property and the land. They're not building any more land, well, unless you go to places like China or to Monaco, where they're building land into the sea. But you get the what I mean. They're not certainly building a lot more land, so it's always going to become in demand, and people always need somewhere to live. And now it is expensive to buy property and land, but you've probably got a good long-term investment there. And I think we're kind of conditioned into not diversifying our assets and have cash. And look what's going on now. We've got inflation going up. Cash is becoming less and less. So you're almost kind of chasing shadows. So it's good to go out there and get yourself educated, whichever way you want to go. If you want to educate yourself in the stock market, the gold or silver, or the property and land. I like to stay educated in the property and the land. I've always been interested in that. I'd love to grow a portfolio in that, and maybe I will. Maybe I will have a few rentals. That would be my goal. Maybe have half a dozen rentals, just small rentals that I could rent out as holiday homes. I think this is a good return on investment. You've got people like to go on holidays. You don't have the burden of tenants, which in the UK it's very hard to evict if you have problems with them. Whereas holiday homes, it's a higher turnover. People go there on holiday, they want to leave when the holiday's finished and go back home to their responsibilities. So I like that kind of investment. Also, you've still got the property, so you've got that income coming in from your rentals of your holidays, but you've still got that bricks and mortar sitting there. If you need to sell off one or two, or maybe the whole lot, if something happened, and you've got that lump sum of money to come in. So I think that's a good way to go with property. Land, you may not see that much of an instant return. It's more of a long-term investment. And if you hit lucky, maybe your land would fall into quite an in-demand area, a tourist area, and you could sell it at a premium. So these are long-term kind of goals. And the same with the gold and silver. Don't go and buy a bit gold and expect to sell it at a big profit in a couple of weeks. It's just not going to happen. It's long-term investments. But educate yourself on the market you're interested in, and then look to go from there. Next one I wanted to talk about was getting comfortable with bad high interest debt like credit cards. Worst thing ever. Not for the banks, but for you and me, or used to be me. Credit cards, such a disaster for so many people out there, and should be illegal, but never will be, because there's too much money to be made off them by all the wrong people. So not paying your credit card off by the end of the month, or the end of 2 or 3 months, that's fine. But when you start dragging it and maybe just paying the minimum, and before you know it, you're going into the months and the years, and it just wears you down so much, knowing psychologically there's this massive debt hanging over my head and may never escape it. And if you have a credit card, you've got to focus on getting that balance back to zero every time, every month, as quickly as possible before the interest rates or the interest charges start appearing, because then you're chasing your tail constantly. And if you're not on a 0%, the interest charges can be quite high. If you can avoid a credit card, you shouldn't go anywhere near them. They're just a complete disaster. And just try and, back to what we talked about earlier, budget in your lifestyle to the salary that's coming in, and don't go past that. Don't even go near credit cards, stay away from them. It's hard because of all that everywhere pulling at you, trying to get that hard-earned cash out of that wallet. Oh, I don't have the £50 or whatever, wherever you are in the world, to pay for it now, but I've got the credit card. I'll just credit card it and I'll take that out of next month's salary, and then that's you £50 down on next month's salary. You've used the credit card, you're happy for a bit because you've got the product to satisfy you, but then you're chasing your tail. You maybe missed the payment on the credit cards, you've got interest charges or late payment charges. It's just best to avoid it, full stop. So the next one, and the final one I want to talk about, is focusing on cutting back instead of making more. And I think a lot of people can be guilty of that if they're struggling, and it's not good psychologically. So they maybe want to spend something, but their mind is automatically jumps to what can I cut back? What can I cut out this month? What can I stop doing so that I can have this bit of pleasure, this enjoyment, I can do this other thing. They should be saying, what can I do to make more money so I can do this? At the end of the day, there's so many coupons that you can cut, only so many services you can cancel before there's just nowhere left to turn and cut back Plus you'd be this more and more miserable, living on a shoestring budget, and that mindset. And you need to think about asking, if you're in work, asking for a raise, believe in yourself, that you're valuable. If your employer doesn't see that potential, doesn't believe in you, start looking for a new job where you can earn more money, climb the ladder, upgrade your skill, maybe do some evening classes, and make yourself more desirable, more in demand. And if you want to take that risk, start your own business and be your own boss, have control of your own finances and grow it and be more independent. It's called forward thinking. And if you're looking to expand your income rather than trying to cut something out of your life in order to afford something new, psychologically you've put yourself in a box. You've put up mental barriers of this. It's how much income I have to work with, and that's not good for you. You'll be limiting yourself forever if these are your first thoughts on what can I cut out instead, and how can I make more. And that's really important to get on that positive path, get into that correct mental state and believe in yourself. Well, thanks for joining me today on that video. I hope you enjoyed it and found a bit more positive energy in your life, and maybe you'll go out and try some things. Thanks, bye.